Okay, the last time we spoke in my previous video, we talked about cryonics and how God said it was okay to do. And to recap, let me just go over briefly what cryonics is. Cryonics is the process of preserving the brain after you die and storing it in liquid nitrogen at super cold temperatures for long, long periods of time, such as hundreds or even thousands of years. And so, by placing the brain, and the brain may be in the head, or it may be in the entire body, or it may just be the brain. The brain's the important part. So, you store the brain in liquid nitrogen at super cold temperatures, and that is basically a form of biostasis. So nothing changes. There is no decay or rot of the brain, and it remains the same for hundreds or even thousands of years. And so this is in order to be resurrected in the distant future when Jesus comes back to life comes back to earth rather in the second coming. And so I addressed the objection of whether it's okay to want to live forever. And I showed that in the Bible, God shows us that He wants us to live forever. So let's talk about another objection that people have to cryonics and brain preservation in general. And that is that why should they want to preserve their brain and be resurrected on earth in the distant future when they're going to be going to heaven, they think, and living there forever and playing on a harp or whatever. However, the Bible does not say that we go to heaven at all. In fact, it specifically says the opposite. And it says that the faithful will receive eternal life in the future world, okay? That's the world that we live in. And so let's go to the Bible verses that talk about that right now, okay? So let's go to Luke chapter 18, verse 30. Luke 18:30 in the World English Bible, and it says, "Who will not receive many times more in this time, and in the world to come, eternal life?" So what they're saying here is that the right people, if you're the right person, a follower of Jesus who does what he says, you're going to get eternal life in the world to come. And here's another verse we want to take a look at. Mark 10:30. Mark 10:30, Webster's Bible translation. It says here, "In the world to come, they shall receive eternal life." In the world to come, eternal life. And this is talking about what the faithful shall receive. So I'll quote this as, "In the world to come, the faithful shall receive eternal life." Eternal life is what they're going to receive in the world to come. The world to come. So there you have two verses that talk about the faithful and what they're going to get and where they're going to get it. Does it say heaven? No. Okay, let's talk about what Jesus said to his followers about heaven. And we're going to turn to John 3:13, the New International Version Bible. And it says here, Jesus is telling his followers about heaven. He says, "No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of Man." So, who is the Son of Man? The Son of Man is Jesus. That's another name for Jesus. And he's saying that no one has ever gone into heaven except me. So, are you going to go into heaven when you die? No. If you're faithful, you shall receive eternal life, not in heaven, but in the world to come. We have two quotes from the Bible telling us that. And so, what does this mean? Okay, in future videos, I'm going to cover what this means and how you get to be one of the faithful. It's not just believing. You got to do things. Jesus tells you to do things. And one of the things I believe that he tells us to do is to preserve our brain after death. And so that's cryonics or brain preservation. Cryonics is just basically a type of brain preservation. You can also preserve your brain through chemicals. You have two ways of preserving the brain after death: chemicals and liquid nitrogen. And so I'll be talking about those in future videos. But to recap, in this video, we learned that we don't go to heaven when we die. And if we're faithful, if we're good, if we do what Jesus says, then we receive eternal life in the world to come.